Hey guys, I was asked by a guy in a local Tesla group about going on road trips in his car and what he should have in his car for a road trip. So I just kind of put together what I take for a road trip, and we're all different, have different risk tolerances, but this is what I do to lower my risk. So what I have at first for you are the two different generations of chargers. This is what's called a Gen 2 mobile charger. And you'll see on this Gen 2 charger, I just have the regular outlet adapter. There's also a 1450 adapter for that Gen 2. I don't use the Gen 2 very often, so I don't have the 1450 adapter. I actually have a 1030 adapter, but I'm selling that, well, just giving it to one of my buddies. He needs a 1030 for his Gen 2 mobile charger. So anyway, so that's a mobile charger. All I'm getting at there is, make sure to take your mobile charger with you on a road trip. And then I'll go over the different adapters that you should have in your charger. So whether you have Gen 1 or if you have the Gen 2 charger, just take the charger with you, and then you'll need to have different adapters with you as you go. So the best adapters to have with you when you're going on a road trip is definitely the regular outlet adapter, the 515. That will charge at like 1.3 kilowatts or so, which for a Model 3 is about 5 miles per hour of charge that you're getting off of a regular outlet. The other one I would take, this is the one you'll run into the most common of anywhere you go. It's called the 1450, and this is a 4-prong outlet. These are the two hots, so each one of these has 120 volts. And then this is the common, or the white wire that's in the bundle, and then this is ground. But this is the one you'll run into at most RV parks. They'll have a TT30, which has two bent connectors and then a round ground. And those TT30s, you can get an adapter to go to like a 1450. That's the one that you'll find most often. After that, you'll hit these 1450s. And that will charge at 50 amps. If you have 50 amps is a breaker size. So if you're charging, you'll get 40 amps out of a Gen 1 charger, which is roughly 10 kilowatts. If you have a Gen 2 charger, this charger is limited at 32 amps of charging speed. So with that same adapter, with a Gen 2, you'll get 7.5 kilowatts. With the Gen 1, you'll get just under 10 kilowatts. So that's why you'll see I have a Gen 1 charger. I get a lot more charge per hour out of this charger. And if I'm going, to my parents or my in-laws, my brother's house, any of those guys, I've installed, a 50 amp circuit at each of their houses so that I can go and, charge up while I'm sitting there and we're visiting, and then I don't have to go hit the supercharger. Then I always, send them a Venmo for $10 or whatever for the time and the power that I used while I was charging there. So yeah, so that's a 1450. This is a Gen 1. The other one that I take is a 650, which is the same, 50 amps or 50 amp breaker, 40 amps of charging. But this is a 650, and this one has, the same two hots and a ground. This one, the 1450 and the 650, they charge at the exact same speed. But to wire this outlet, you have to have, a 3-wire, 2 hots, the white and the ground. To do a 650, you just need the 2 hots and a ground. So it actually saves you on wiring. And then the outlets, it seems like the 650 is cheaper than the 1450. A lot of times they're the same, but you can get the 650s that are cheaper because you can go to a welding shop and you can get a really high-end 650 outlet for not that much more than you'd pay at Home Depot. Anyway, so those are the two adapters that I take, are my 650 and my 1450. The 650, I almost never run into it, just at my brother's house because he has a welder. And the 1450, I've used that at RV parks. I've installed it at my in-laws. And the reason why I installed the 1450 versus 650 at the in-laws is if they ever decide to get a RV, This one's more native for an RV than the 650 is. So those are the two adapters for the Gen 1 charger. And then I also take the same 515 outlet. Oh, this is actually not a 515. This is I think this is a 520 is what this one is. And you'll see that the one's going sideways, and that just means that I can charge it 20 amps versus 15 amps. So you just get, 5 more amps out of the outlet. Anyway, so that was kind of a bad example. You never run into these. I bought it, and this was the first outlet that I had installed in my garage, and it lasted a couple of weeks, and it did fine. But then I moved, over to the 1450 before I really knew about the 650. But anyway, those are the 3 that I take with me. Something else that you'll want to take with you is like a jack puck, so that if you break down somewhere, and you can take a jack with you, right? You can put a jack under here in the tub. You could put one down there if you needed to. But I take one of these jack pucks with me so that if somehow I got a flat and a nice bystander came by and they had a jack, this makes jacking up the car a lot easier. And in my Model S, everywhere I went, I took the pucks, I took a jack, I put a full-size spare in the front, but with the I never really had problems. I had a flat once or twice, but I never really had to jack it up. But it's nice to have, right? And it doesn't take up any room. So if you need some help and you have a flat, if you have the jack puck, it just makes it easier. So anyway, so I take my charger. I take my 2 50 amp adapters with me. I don't ever take the 1430 or the 1030 or any of those. I never take those with me because I've never ran into them. I've never had a need of it. If you're staying at an Airbnb, maybe you would need it because maybe they have a dryer outlet next to the garage that you can charge off of. But truly, if you're staying at an Airbnb, you should check with the host to make sure they're okay with you charging and whatnot. So anyway, so that's going over the, taking a charger with you. And those are kind of your 2 main options of a charger, unless you do one of the J1772 chargers. And if you take one of those, then you already know about the J1772. Just take your little adapter with you. Okay, so the other thing that I take is a CCS adapter. And the CCS adapter, for most chargers, DC fast chargers that are not Tesla, they're going to be a CCS charger. And this is a dual adapter. So the first thing it does is it has a J1772. So these 3 ports are shared between the CCS and the J1772 because these are the 3 communication ports. And then these 2 are where the AC current goes in if you're doing AC charging. And for this adapter, it can go to 80 amps, same as the Tesla native J1772 adapter. But the other advantage that this one has is that you can open this tray, the spring-loaded tray, and then you have the 2 connections for the DC positive and negative, right? Or maybe, the other way, right? But one of them's positive, one of them's negative. But you just open this tray up, plug the CCS adapter into it, and then plug it into your car. And this enables you to go to Electrify America, ChargePoint, Blink, any of the other, third-party electric vehicle charging stations that haven't adopted, the Tesla North America charging standard. Any of them that are still using the CCS, this adapter will get you there. And the Tesla one won't have these 2 pins in it. So the Tesla one can only be used for DC charging, DC fast charging. But this one that I just got it off of eBay, this one can work for both. Now there are risks of using this, because if you're charging with AC and this tray is broken, then, you could shock yourself, right? You could do yourself some damage. But as it says, make sure that this is securely closed to avoid the risk of an electrical leakage, right? Meaning it's leaking out of these two ports. Because whether you're AC charging or DC charging, it's going to electrify, you know, those 4 pins, no matter which one you're doing. So I trust myself. I'm not that worried about it, right? So because I'm a grown-up, right? I'm not going to stick my fingers in there, and it's covered when I'm AC charging. So anyway, so that's a CCS adapter. This thing's pretty critical. I take it on every road trip I go on because I never know if I'm going, you know, I mean, I know where I'm going, right? But if there's not a Tesla charger in that location, or you know, the Tesla chargers are full, but the CCS chargers are not, or sometimes I'll do pricing arbitrage. Sometimes the CCS charging is cheaper than Tesla's. Not very often, and truly almost never. But if it is, or if the chargers are full, it gives me another option. Plus I have 3 kids, and we never know when the 3 kids have to be. And most of the time the Electrify America chargers are at Walmart's. So we'll go there, get a charge, let the kids go to the bathroom, get some snacks, then get back on the road again. So anyway, so that's pretty critical. So at minimum, to go on a road trip, I'd get your mobile charger, get your CCS charger. I would personally take a puck, and then I would take your J1772 adapter. So if you have the Tesla CCS, then just take your Tesla J1772 that came with your car. But take both of those. And this typically is in this bag, just wrapped inside of the coil, right? So that's all just kept in that bag. I store it in the front, and then I don't have to worry about it. So the next thing that I would take is I would take a patch kit and a compressor. And the reason why I take a patch kit is if you happen to get a flat, right? Tesla's, you can call roadside assistance, you know, and they're always there. They're great. I've met several of them who work, you know, in the kind of the same area that I live in, and they're really good people, but it's not the cheapest way of getting back on the road. This kit, I think, was $20 off of Amazon. What this kit has is you'll see these, you know, these rubberized tubes, and this is what you use to patch the tire. So if you have if you've run over a nail, or you're in, you know, some condition where you're losing air, it comes with a pair of needle-nose pliers. You know, you'll fill around the tire, feel for where the air is leaking. Hopefully it's leaking in the tread portion, right, of the tire, not on the sides, but in kind of in the middle. You'll find where the nail is or where it's leaking. Most of it's by running your hand over and listening for a change in the pitch of the air coming out of the tire. And then once you find it, most of the time it's a nail. This is used, you know, the needle nose pliers to pull the nail out of your tire. Once the nail's out, I don't know what this technical name is, but it's a reaming tool, right? You put it in where the nail came out, move it back and forth to kind of rough up the rubber, right? But you just do that a couple of times, rough it up. You can also use some of the, it's leaking. Anyway, you can use some of the liquid that comes in the pack, right? And you just run it in and out of the hole a couple of times to rough it up real good. And then this is what you insert, or use to insert the patch. So you pull the patch out of the plastic, you put it about in the middle. What I do is when you're patching the nail hole, I'll take it, you know, against the tire. See, that's a tire, right? We're being creative today. But I'll push it into the tire, right? And you'll feel resistance, and then you'll feel where it slips, right? Once it's slipped, you can see the hole's open this way. I'll actually turn it, right, 90 degrees, and then I'll pull it back until it kind of pops out, and I'll see the loop of the material. And then you can either yank it, which will rip that, or you can use your razor blade and you can cut it off. So let me go over that again, right? So once you have the hole in your tire, you'll have the rubber patch, right? You're going to put the rubber patch right in the middle. You're going to push it into the tire until the end of that rubber patch, just the very end of it, is sticking out of the tire. Then you'll rotate it 90 degrees, pull it out to where it barely comes out and is freed, and then cut it off with the razor blade. And by doing that, your patch is going down, and then it's twisted over, and then it's coming back out again. And so you have 4 pieces of that patch sitting in that hole, right? If you have 2 pieces, it'll seal pretty good. But if you have 4, you know, it's much more likely for that patch to hold until you can get it to a tire shop, and then they can do a legitimate patch, right? Where they take the tire off and then they put, it's the same basic type of patch, right? But it will have a metal base to it, and then the patch comes out of the middle of it, and they'll prep the inside of the tire. They'll put that patch in. Some of them will seal that patch, and then they'll put like a rubber, not sticker, but a flat rubber piece over the top of the patch. So it's a lot more sealed, and it's just far less likely to ever leak than these patches. And these patches are just vulcanizing against the tire to hold it in place and hold the air in. So these are temporary, right? Go to a tire shop and they can do more of a permanent fix. Something else that's good to have too are the valve stems, because these valve stems from time to time will come loose and will fall out. And there's a valve stem tool in here, right? So this tool, you can use it right here. Do you see how that lines up? Just goes over to the top of the valve stem. Sometimes your valve stems will get loose. Then you can just tighten your valve stem in, right? And then you'll stop leaking. And how you know that happens is when you take your cap off and you can hear it blowing by. Then you need to try tightening your valve stem. If you tighten it and it stops, you're good. If you tighten it and it doesn't stop, then you can back the valve stem out and install a new one. And those, you know, this kit comes with a bunch of them. Comes with extra caps. These things, those are plugs too, right? That you can push the plug into the tire. Personally, I don't like these because this like vulcanizes against your tire. And this one's just kind of a rubber plug. So I haven't ever used them, and I haven't read good things about them. But that's me, right? Everybody do what you are comfortable with. Let me get that back in there. I swear it came out of that hole. Oh, there we go. Yeah, now it's back in. Okay, so that's the kit that I have, right? And it's real small. I just put it down in the footwell down below, and it works nicely. It also comes with, you know, a pressure gauge. And then beyond that, you know, I bring the air pump. So once you have your flat, you fix the flat, right? Then you can plug your air pump in, and then you can pump your tire back up again. These things are, I don't know, less than 20 bucks. I don't think they're well lubricated at all. So you can't do much of a load with these things before they overheat. And then I don't know what the cycle life is on it, you know, how many times you can use it until eventually it just doesn't work anymore. But, you know, I think I paid 20 bucks for each one of these, you know, $40 to be able to patch my tire on the side of the road versus calling AAA or somebody else to come and do it. It's going to be a couple $100, right? So I think you know, it's money well spent. So that's what I do, are those, you know, 4 major items that I take on road trips. When I had my Model S, it was a rear wheel. I actually put a full-size spare in the front of the car. I put a jack in the footwell below, had my jack pad, right? And I never needed it because if my tires get very low, I just replace them. I don't gamble with my life on the freeway or anything like that. So I haven't really had much of a problem with tires, but you know, this is cheap insurance. So that's what I would do. And you know, if you're going for a road trip, that's not a bad collection of items to take along with you. So I'm trying to think if there was anything else worth saying on the matter, but there's nothing else that I'm really coming up with. You know, you can get some Windex and a cleaning cloth so you can clean your windshield, keep the glare out of your eyes. you know, if your windshield gets covered with bugs or those kind of things, that's kind of nice to have too. But yeah, that's about it. So let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to leave